Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X research and professional physicist. And today I'd like to bring to you another one of my articles. This one is entitled Harmful UVC Radiation Reaching Earth's Surface Indicates Source Within Atmosphere. Now, recent published research on the amount of ultraviolet radiation entering the Earth's atmosphere shows that all wavelengths in the ultraviolet range are reaching the surface of the Earth. The research collaborators were Marvin Hendon from the TransDigm Corporation, Raymond Hossington from I-Ray Spectrometrics, and Mark Whiteside from the Florida Department of Health in Monroe County. The measurements were carried out in June of 2017 and January of 2018 and are summarized in the graph below. And this was what you can see here. And I have divided it into the different ranges. The UVA and the UVB range are low energy ranges of ultraviolet radiation, but UVC is high energy and damaging. As you can see, at the lowest wavelengths, which are actually the most energetic type of photons we would get coming in and arriving at the Earth's surface, we see a large amount reaching the Earth's surface. Now, what they measure here is spectral irradiance, which is a measure of light intensity, and light intensity is power per unit surface area. And this gives a measure of the amount of light. Power is actually energy per second, impacting a surface, a particular surface. The measurements can be made at different altitudes, including above the Earth's atmosphere, but in this case they were made very close to sea level, that is at an altitude of only 56 meters above sea level. Now, the ultraviolet spectrum is divided into three range groups. Photons with a wavelength of between 315 and 400 nanometers fall in the UVA range, and this is the least energetic range. The middle range is UVB, and photons with a wavelength of between 280 and 350 nanometers fall in this range. Ultraviolet light in both these wavelength ranges are beneficial to living organisms, as long as it's not too much. Ultraviolet light is helpful in certain conditions where the body is attacked by bacteria and viruses, and ultraviolet light therapy has been successfully used to treat psoriasis, eczema, and jaundice. Exposure to ultraviolet light stimulates the skin to produce vitamin D, and vitamin D facilitates the absorption of calcium and phosphorus from food and is thus crucial for skeletal and development and blood cell formation. However, radiation in the UVC range, which is from 102 to 180 nanometers, is the most energetic and is part of the radiation range, which is able to ionize atoms and is thus called ionizing radiation. Now, ionizing radiation is damaging to living cells. Apparently, DNA has a resonant frequency of 270 nanometers, which is within that range. So UV rays at that frequency cause an intense vibration of the DNA in cells, which destroys the DNA. Thus, when we are exposed to UVC radiation, rampant DNA damage occurs in exposed skin and in the eye. UVC radiation is also damaging to plants as it inhibits photosynthesis and destroys beneficial symbiotic soil organisms, which help plants absorb certain minerals. Thus, UVC radiation can destroy crops and thus the food supply we are dependent on for our survival. Now, the ozone layer is a filter which absorbs between 97 and 99% of UVC radiation. So it's an atmospheric layer from about 12 kilometers to 20 kilometers in altitude. It's between the troposphere and the stratosphere in the Earth's atmosphere. And living organisms have repair mechanisms that allow them to cope with such small amounts, if 1 to 3% reaches the surface. But when too much reaches the surface, the repair mechanisms are overwhelmed and disease and death can result. Now, there has been some evidence that the Earth's ozone layer has been undergoing depletion for quite some time now, and that this may be the root cause behind the destruction of Australia's coral reefs. Since the spraying of aerosols or chemtrails is known to deplete the ozone layer, and this has now been done on a large scale for about 10 years, it would not be surprising if the ozone layer has now been depleted to the point that UVC radiation is reaching the Earth's surface in large amounts. And I detailed that in article 32 entitled The Purpose and Effects of Chemtrails. Now, Hendon et al., the paper I talked about from the beginning, concluded in their paper that the common belief that the Earth's atmosphere absorbs all UVC radiation is erroneous, and that in fact it does not. It instead allows UVC radiation to reach the surface. Well, as I said, a small amount can reach the surface, but the amount they measured is way above that. So I do not actually agree with that conclusion. I believe that the more logical conclusion is that there has been a dramatic change in the Earth's atmosphere between 2002 and 2017. And I base that conclusion on the fact that measurements carried out by Brian Duffy in 2002 clearly showed that UVC radiation was not detected at the Earth's surface then. Hendon et al. Actually superimposed Duffy's measurements from 2002 on their own results, and this graph appears here. So here are Duffy's results. As you can see, he measured UVA, he measured some UVB, but the line here goes straight down to straight down, not to 0, it's at 0.1 still, but you can see that basically UVB below about 290 nanometers was not measured by him when he made these measurements. So this showed that not even all UVB, the most energetic UVB, was not reaching the Earth's surface. It was most likely absorbed by the ozone layer, and this was in 2002. And now Hendon et al. Clearly showed that that has changed. There's definitely the higher energy UVB is measured at the Earth's surface, and UVC, and a large amount, it is actually an increasing trend as the wavelength decreases, and therefore the energy increases of UVC radiation, which is extremely surprising, very peculiar indeed. Now, so that to me shows, and I will explain, so besides the fact that the Earth's ozone layer has gone through dramatic depletion since 2002 due to the large-scale spraying of aerosols in the Earth's atmosphere, it's also possible that the sun simulators, which I have shown, are operating from within the Earth's atmosphere. And you may look at Article 165, Sun Simulator, Irrefutable Evidence, and Article 166, Sun Simulator and Lens System, where I explain how the system works, these have been operating quite a few sun simulator models are in operation within the Earth's atmosphere. So it's likely that at least one of the sun simulators, one of the sun simulators seems to be in orbit around the Earth, and its orbital position must be that its orbital period is 24 hours. But that's only one of them. Most of the simulators seem to be in operation within the Earth's atmosphere, and these are likely to actually be the source of this UVC radiation. And the ones in the Earth's atmosphere are in a grid pattern, in an array which covers the whole globe, and they will then be moving relative to the surface of the Earth with a speed of about 1,000 miles per hour. Now, Hendon and al. Also plotted a graph showing the amount of UVC radiation from the sun arriving at the top of the atmosphere. So this is the UVC radiation emitted by the sun and arriving at the Earth's atmosphere before the ozone layer can absorb any of it. And as you can see, it goes down towards the higher energy wavelengths. And so it actually shows, I mean, Hendon actually measured more UVC radiation than is arriving at the top of the Earth's atmosphere. And this means that this UVC radiation that he measured was not coming from the sun. It had to have another source, because not enough UVC radiation arrives at the Earth in order to be able to give this kind of result at the surface. So Hendon and al. Measured more UVC radiation between 200 and 220 nanometers than is measured above the atmosphere, and thus above the ozone layer. And therefore, before the ozone layer can remove any of it. This shows that there has to be a source for the radiation below the ozone layer altitude. This strongly suggests that indeed the sun simulators operating inside the Earth's atmosphere are emitting UVC radiation and are therefore harmful to living organisms on the Earth's surface. It would also be interesting, I think, to see if measurements at other wavelengths, such as the X-ray range, would also yield positive results, because this will tell us that these sun simulators, if we get a positive result, also emitting X-rays. So, in conclusion, damaging UVC radiation is now reaching the Earth's surface. The reason is likely to, at least in part, be due to depletion of the Earth's ozone layer. However, the fact that more UVC radiation is measured at the Earth's surface than has been measured above the atmosphere suggests that a large part of the UVC radiation, basically most of it, reaching the Earth's surface cannot be coming from the sun, and is very likely to be coming from sources below the ozone layer, and therefore most likely from the sun simulation devices in operation within the Earth's atmosphere. And these are the references. This is Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X physicist. Thank you for watching.